The Jeppesen Airway Manual is used extensively throughout the world by airlines and general aviation operators. It contains all the information required for departure, transit and arrival procedures. It is regularly and frequently updated and amended. The Student Pilot Route Manual is used in the JAA ATPL examination. It is not amended and so should not be used for navigation. The manual is split into sections, each one of which we shall go through in turn. Ensure that you are familiar with the contents of each section before you move on to the next. The first section in the manual is entitled Introduction. It is a valuable aid memoir and reference section when using the charts and other sections. Page 1 lists the table of contents. Some of the contents are used solely by the FAA and are therefore not relevant to the JAA exam. Do not be concerned with the gaps in the page numbering. This is quite deliberate. For example, there are no pages numbered between 45 and 51, nor between pages 60 to 71. Pages 1 to 14 contain a chart glossary, which lists the definitions used in the manual in alphabetical order. Verbatim definitions from this section have been the subject of past examination questions. This is followed on pages 41 to 45 by abbreviations, also in alphabetical order. The en route chart legend is next, not all of which is relevant. Pay particular attention to the sections headed NavAid Symbols, NavAid Identification, NavAid Communication Data and Restricted Airspace. Of particular use for reference is page 57, which shows the en route chart legend in a form which is typical of the layout of an en route chart. The following pages, dealing with arrival and departure legends, contain a lot of FAA material. This will be dealt with in a later lesson. Before moving to the next scene, you are strongly advised to go back over the pages shown in the text box and make sure you know where to find this reference material when needed. The next section, entitled En route, is really the first part of two sections. This first section consists of plastic pockets, each containing an en route Airways chart. These are known as low-level charts, the upper limits of which are shown and will be dealt with in detail in a later lesson. Without removing the charts from their pockets, look at the front panel of each to see its area of coverage. You will see that we have charts covering Europe, the Atlantic, and the USA. The following section contains the high-level en route charts, each having a defined upper and lower limit. Again, these charts will be dealt with in detail later. It has become common practice, for reasons unknown, to put the Germany VFR chart, which we have looked at in detail, in the last pocket of this section. The air traffic control section is the smallest of them all, but it contains a lot of useful information. The first few pages of the section contain extracts from PAN's RAC, Doc 4444, detailing the instructions for communicating special reports of significant weather phenomena and volcanic activity. Although these have been dealt with in other subjects, they do form a part of the flight planning syllabus. The next part of this section deals with the ICAO flight plan. This is explained in detail and is the subject of many examination questions. It will be the topic of a separate lesson later in the course, along with the repetitive flight plan, which is shown on page 442 of this section. Before moving on to the next scene, familiarize yourself with the phraseology used in the Instructions for Reporting by Voice Communications. The next section is called Terminal. This section contains many charts detailing the arrival and departure procedures for a number of European airfields. These will require detailed study, so we shall return to them at a later stage. The last section is the VFR section, which we have already dealt with in an earlier lesson. A brief introductory look at the Jeppesen manual shows that it contains a wealth of information, all of which is essential to the safe conduct of the flight. In the next few lessons, we shall study each section in detail so that you become familiar with this important document.